A new economic forecast for the November general election has come out saying Donald Trump will lose in a landslide, pulling in only 33% of the popular vote. Joe Biden is going to have a historic victory. And why? Because the economy is terrible. And typically, political parties facing an economic crisis do not win. Now, of course, we're seeing many people, many news outlets prop this up saying, this is it. Donald Trump is going to lose. I don't buy it. Right now, 538 is once again asking, will this be a blue wave year? What? Hold on a second. Well, first, for those that aren't familiar, 538, the famous pollsters, they're kind of center left for the most part. But they asked us just over a week ago, about 10 days ago, are we going to see signs of a blue wave? If these two special elections turn out favorably for Democrats, we may see the Democratic advantage on paper prove they're going to win in November. But what happened? The Republicans crushed it, flipping a Democratic district red with a 21-point swing from Democrat to Republican. So why would they keep coming out with news saying Trump is going to lose? I honestly have no idea. I understand the economic forecast model. This makes sense to me. Donald Trump is going to lose if the economy is bad, but the economy isn't bad because of some mistake Trump made. The economy is bad because governors are locking down their economies and the people are protesting. In fact, there's a very high profile story right where I live, a gym refusing to stay closed and the government coming after them, even the governor. Right now, Donald Trump's approval rating on the economy is above water. It's around 51 or 52%. So how does it make sense? I think the problem we have here is that when it comes to some of these economic forecast models, they don't understand cultural issues or causation. They simply say, hey, when economies are bad, presidents lose. But maybe it's because when economies are bad in most circumstances, the president had something to do with it. And if right now we're looking at a president who got us 3+ years of a booming economy, why would the American people doubt him now? At the same time, you have people in media ragging on Trump, blaming him for everything when it's the governors. I mean, the hotspot is New York, and Andrew Cuomo is responsible for this. I understand outside of China. Outside of China, Andrew Cuomo is responsible for this. Why is then the media writing puff pieces and propping him up? This is why I don't believe these stories. I believe Donald Trump is likely to win. Now, prediction models and betting models have it pretty close, pretty even. But I think what we're seeing here is an example of what I've been talking about over the past couple of weeks. 538 says we're going to see a blue wave. The evidence shows a coming red wave for the Republicans. And then sure enough, they write another story saying, wait, no, blue wave. I get it. Keep up the morale. But let's break this down. I want to go through their arguments. And hey, listen, I could be dead wrong. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. We're talking about economic forecast models, right? Well, I happen to think I'm going to be right on this one. Of course, I thought I was going to be right during the midterms, and boy, was I ever so wrong. So let's read this and try and give it a fair assessment. From CNN Business, Trump will lose in a landslide because the economy new election model predicts. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give, but the best thing you can do, share this video. Because we'll have a real debate about this. I mean that seriously. A lot of people are probably anti-Trump. A lot of people are pro-Trump. Let's take a look at what CNN has to say and some of these other sources. I'll give you my opinion. And then in the comments, you guys can discuss, do you think Donald Trump is really going to lose? Now, if you just want to watch, hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell. Hopefully that'll be enough for YouTube to recommend the video to you. But let's read the news from CNN. They report, the economy has gone from President Donald Trump's greatest political asset to perhaps his biggest weakness. Unemployment is spiking at an unprecedented rate. Consumer spending is vanishing and GDP is collapsing. History shows that dreadful economic trends like these spell doom for sitting presidents seeking re-election. The coronavirus recession will cause Trump to suffer a historic defeat in November, a national election model released Wednesday by Oxford Economics predicted. The model, which uses unemployment, disposable income, and inflation to forecast election results, predicts that Trump will lose in a landslide, capturing just 35% of the popular vote. That's a sharp reversal from the model's pre-crisis prediction that Trump would win about 55% of the vote. And it would be the worst performance for an incumbent in a century. Quote, it would take nothing short of an economic miracle for pocketbooks to favor Trump, Oxford Economics wrote in the report. adding that the economy will be a nearly insurmountable obstacle for Trump come November. The model has correctly predicted the popular vote in every election since 1948, other than 1968 and 1976. Although two candidates lost the popular vote but won the presidency in that span, including George W. Bush in 2000 and Donald Trump in 2016. But as I stated earlier, I think they're missing the cultural context and they're missing the causation of the economic woes. Here's what, look, if you think the American people are stupid and they wake up one day and say economy is bad, it's the president's fault. Okay, Trump will lose. I have a little bit more faith in the American people to a certain degree, to be honest. I think they wake up and say, I had the best year of my life last year. I want it back. Let me tell you a story. I went to a furniture shop. I was picking up some supplies for this here new setup we're doing in the new show. And the woman there told me that last year was the best year of her life in her career. I had someone coming out for landscaping. Same thing. Said last year was incredible. The best year I've ever had in my life. And guess what? Me too. Last year, business was a booming. Things were going really, really well. And that was the Trump economy. The pandemic hit and it wasn't Donald Trump's fault. In fact, the shutdowns came from the governors, not the president. You want to criticize the president? Maybe we should have shut down sooner. But I'll tell you what. Right now, 300 small businesses in New York City are protesting, demanding the economy be reopened. That's not a Republican city. That is the Democrats' stronghold, protesting the Democratic mayor and governor for shutting down the economy. With that in mind, do you really think the American people are going to look to Joe Biden and say, the economy's bad, I'll vote for the Democrat? I think we're going to see in big cities, Democrats saying, no way. I mean, take a look at California's 25th. It was Republican until up till the 2018 election. Katie Hill flipped it by 9 points. It flipped back 21 points. The culture war is going to play a major role in this. And maybe this is why no one saw 2016 coming. Donald Trump won. Everyone said he wasn't going to win. They didn't understand the cultural context of what was happening to our society and what is happening now. CNN says Ohio and Missouri could flip to Democrats. Now, this is where I'll say Republicans, you best pay attention. Donald Trump is relatively unpopular with a lot of people. His approval rating, for whatever reason, is underwater, though he's currently, according to Gallup, polling better than Obama did for the same time period, which does bode well for Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton was extremely unpopular, and they really underestimated just how much the average American hated her. Joe Biden doesn't have that same level of hate. Perhaps the reason they're propping up Joe Biden, a mindless blank candidate, is because they don't want anyone to feel anything about him. Maybe they're hoping, you know what? We can get somebody who's divisive and has a lot of support but a lot of hate, or we can get someone no one really cares about. That's why Biden might actually win. And if you think it couldn't happen, that will be your downfall. Let's read. The national election model assumes that the economy is still in bad shape this fall, with unemployment above 13% per capita, 13%. Real per capita incomes down nearly 6% from a year ago, and a brief period of falling prices or deflation. The economy would still be in a worse state than at the depth of the Great Depression. A separate state-based election model run by Oxford Economics that incorporates local economic trends and gasoline prices predicts Trump will badly lose the Electoral College by a margin of 328 to 210. That model forecasts that 7 battleground states will flip to Democrats: Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Missouri, and North Carolina. We would expect these states to experience significant economic contractions and traumatic job losses that would likely swing pocketbook vote. Oxford Economics developed the state-based model last year. It would have correctly predicted Trump's upset Electoral College victory, as well as 7 of the 9 prior elections since 1980. What they're saying, and this is fair, they're taking into consideration all of the factors of 2016, looking at what they got wrong and making a new model. Sorry, I still don't buy it. I really, really don't. They go on to say, is it too early to predict the election? And that may be it. Look, New York is saying all indications they're going to reopen in June. We'll see. We'll see. That might give enough time for people to see a massive boon in the stock market, jobs coming back magnificently, people getting their jobs back. But we are going to see permanent closures of small business. Now, is that Donald Trump's fault? It's not. So if the American people in big cities were planning on voting Democrat anyway, I don't see why people would change their vote. If people in swing states that are run by Democratic governors who were shut down lost their businesses, why would they blame the Republican Party for this? I'm sorry, I just don't see the argument. Unless, of course, you look at people like mindless drones. Sure. Well, take a look at this. The Predictive Models. I like to take a look at how people are betting in terms of cash, because that's a good indicator. People don't want to lose money, right? It's not always the best indicator, but it's something to look at. Right now, Donald Trump is favored to win with a 49% chance of victory, and Joe Biden, or I should say it's a 49 cents. And then we have Joe Biden at 46 cents. That's per share. It's complicated, but basically they're saying, I think, that basically they believe Donald Trump is favored to win. That's the easiest way to put it. But he is very, 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 very close with Joe Biden. Now take a look at this story from the Washington Post. This is the warning to Trump voters. Trump-Biden voters could decide the 2020 election. They bring up something interesting, that there is a group of people who are economically progressive but socially conservative. I can understand this point of view. I remember back, 10 or so years ago, it was people were the outlier, the libertarian types. They were economically conservative and socially liberal, meaning they were much for civil rights, gay marriage, things like that, but they opposed the rampant socialist type spending policies. Now we're seeing an inversion of this because of the Democratic Party going too far left, in my opinion. These are people who are economically progressive, probably like the idea of a public option, maybe even leaning towards universal health care, but don't like the overt social justice breakdown of the family. They want traditional family values. These people don't want to vote for Donald Trump. These are not your traditional conservatives who feel this way. But let's take a look at what's actually happening in New York, because I think this is significant. You want to make an economic prediction about Donald Trump's voter base or what's going to happen? Fine. I'm actually of the mindset that cities will remarkably swing red. And there's a few reasons for this. Absolutely, I could be wrong on this one because I'm going to be bold in this prediction. But take a look at the UK. The Conservatives won a record-breaking victory. For those that aren't familiar, December 13th, quite some time ago, or a relatively long time, it's, considering this year's been extremely long, you have the Conservatives winning in areas that hadn't voted Conservative in 100 years. Areas of big cities, my understanding, that were always lefty, voted for the Conservative Party. And it was explained to me, like, imagine a district in New York voting Republican. You'd be shocked. I mean, New York City. Well, now we're seeing a Trump-loving Democrat, NY15, their 15th congressional district, is poised to win. We'll see if it plays out. But we did see, for the first time in 2 decades, a blue district switch back to Republican. That was historic. Perhaps now we will see something similar happen in these big cities like we saw in the UK. Keep in mind, there have been a series of Democratic politicians in smaller local jurisdictions, notably in Pennsylvania, who have switched from Democrat to Republican. It keeps happening. Take a look at Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey's, I believe New Jersey 2nd, who ran as a Democrat, won as a Democrat, and then switched to the Republican Party over the impeachment fiasco. I think we are going to see a repeat of the UK here in the United States, much like we did with the Brexit vote. No one thought Brexit would win. The UK votes to leave the European Union. Boom, Brexit victory. 3 years later, they voted for it again in massive numbers. So why would they now switch and not vote for Donald Trump? Why would the trend break? It's possible. The pandemic. Nobody saw this coming. But it is Democratic governors who are shutting things down. Look at this story from the Daily Mail. 23,000 dead New Yorkers, and it's keeping up with the Cuomos. Chuckling brothers are slammed for CNN nasal swab joke while governor keeps silent on reopening. I kid you not. The Cuomo brothers laughing over these tests, showing oversized novelty cotton swabs. This is what we get right now. And you think they will blame Trump? Trump has been the one calling them the fake news. And what do they give you on the TV? They laugh while your business suffers, while you're locked in your home, while your friends are losing their jobs. They're laughing with their joke prop cotton swabs. There's reasons to criticize Trump over his reaction to the coronavirus as well. But Trump wasn't the one who shut down your economy. That was Governor Cuomo. Of course, Trump was in favor of the lockdowns, 15 days to slow the spread, but we're 2 months on. And now Donald Trump, for the longest time, has been advocating for reopening. But we see the culture war resistance types on social media saying we must remain closed forever. I'm sorry, man. This is the front page of the New York Post. New York. The New York Post. End New York City's lockdown. Now the Big Apple is dying. Do you think these urban liberal types are going to sit there and be like, it's Trump's fault this is happening? Some of them will, for sure. A lot of them are going to be run-of-the-mill people saying like, nah, this is Cuomo's doing. He kept us locked down way too long. Ron DeSantis did a good job. Relative to New York, Florida's not that bad. South Dakota, Kristi Noem did a good job. They threw a parade. So why would this happen? It's entirely possible. But I bring you now to my favorite thing here. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen. We really, really don't. In my opinion, Trump, the Republicans will win. I could be wrong. I could be biased. That's totally fair. But I have to question the media's incessant narrative the Democrats are going to win. Will 2020 be another blue wave election year? Writes 538. Good question. The only problem I have with it is that you said this on May 11th. 2 special elections on Tuesday could hint at another blue wave. You told us if we see the Democrats do well, it will be a blue wave. I followed up that segment by asking, now that the Republicans have crushed and obliterated the Democratic Party in these districts, will they now write a story saying we have seen evidence of a red wave? No. Once again, they ignore what happened, the reality of what's happening in front of their eyes, and write another story. Will it be a blue wave? It's like they have amnesia. Do these people not remember? Perhaps they have the memory of a goldfish, or perhaps they're lying to us. Perhaps what they're trying to do is sway the electorate to vote for how they want, because it is true. When polls say so-and-so will win, so-and-so will lose, people vote for the winner. It swings their vote. It is a fact. That's why I don't trust the media. They're saying Trump's going to lose in a historic, landslide defeat. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. You told us that in 2016. Why should I trust you now? It's fair to point out the economy is bad. But come on, man. They're not going to blame Trump for this. I bring you now to the nightmare reality that is the economic lockdown of the Democratic governors. I live in New Jersey. I am very, very close to Atlas Gym, where the police actually arrested a guy for working out. Take a look at this. She was selling items on Facebook Live. Police interrupt business owner. They shut her down. A small business owner who had to close her non-essential business says she has had several run-ins with police while she tried to make some money. The latest incident came while Catherine Hermes was conducting a shop from home style Facebook Live video of her country home store in downtown Bernardsville. Hermes and a friend were inside the store, both not wearing masks, showing off the products to viewers who can purchase them online. Police showed up around 9 p.m. on Tuesday, and they shut her down. Her store was closed in the video. The police come to the door and they say, ma'am, you got to shut down. You got to close. And she goes, we are closed. Can't you read the sign? She went on Facebook. She was selling things online. Hold on. Amazon sells things online, and they do delivery. But the police came to her store. Sorry, man. I am not convinced what's happening right now has anything to do with the pandemic. I'm sorry. I can't tell you what it is, but I will tell you a lot of people believe that the Democratic governors of these states are trying to hurt the economy, hoping it'll stop Trump. That's a bit too conspiratorial for me. I think this Democratic governor is just completely inept. Conspiracies aside, what do you think's going to happen in blue New Jersey when these people are like, why are you doing this to us? Why are the police coming to my store when we're closed to shut me down? Why is Walmart seeing profits skyrocket, allowed to stay open? Why is Amazon allowed to do these deliveries? And you think they will blame Trump for this? Trump advocated for them, said liberate these states, and I'll show you the hard data. Let's play with the polls. The aggregate from Real Clear Politics, Trump approval rating on the economy, 51%. If the economy was going to be a factor in Donald Trump's defeat, perhaps it could be if people blamed him for it, which they don't. They don't blame him for it. So while you keep sending your cops to small businesses to shut them down, while the Republican states are open, what do you think the Democratic voters are going to be thinking when they look to South Dakota and they say, this woman who runs this business, this is almost New York Metro. Burnsville is up North Jersey. This is a blue state. And you have this woman now who's trying to sell her wares online, the same as Amazon, and the cops shut her down. That is incredible. Meanwhile, she and everyone else can see what happened in Florida. Partial lockdown, did it right, kept people safe, beaches opened up in Jacksonville, did better than New York. Kristi Noem of South Dakota, they threw a parade for her. She refused to lock down the state. No outbreak. Minor outbreak. Not one of the worst. Not a hot spot. The people loved her for it. So what happens when you're a Democrat running a business in New York City? One of the 300 businesses that is demanding the city reopen. And you can see the Republican districts. And then Donald Trump comes along and says, we're going to save your business and we're going to bring back this great economy. They're going to say, please do it. Democrat strongholds. CNN covered this story. I believe it was in Minnesota. Always a blue district, votes local, votes blue, votes Democrat, except for Donald Trump. According to Vox, Trump ran as a moderate. I think people can recognize what's happening. I think the average person is smarter than these Democrats would give them credit for. And I think it's very simple why the economic model will be wrong. It doesn't take into account perceptions, media, culture. It just looks at the hard number. So I'll reiterate my opening assessment, and then I want to rag on 530 for just a little bit more. It's when these other presidents were bringing about an economic crisis, it made sense that people blamed them for it. But the coronavirus is an act of nature. It's an act of God. So people are going to look at this and say, we need a leader who can pull us out of this natural disaster. Well, Donald Trump did see a big boom in his approval rating while he was doing press conferences. It did go down once they stopped covering his press conferences. Then we can see it spiked a little bit. It went down a little bit. But I'll tell you what, right now, Donald Trump's approval rating is teetering above where it was when he was first elected. It then dropped very, very much so. And he's been enjoying very high favorability, relatively high favorability. The New York Times says his base is bigger than ever. And the people know we had the Trump economy and it was great. Obama tried taking credit for it, I guess. So my prediction is that in the coming months, we're going to start seeing these economies reopen. The economic forecast model is going to be proven wrong in two ways. First, the possible way is that when the economies start reopening, particularly in the red states, the blue states that are lagging behind, we're going to see a lot of angry Democrats. Their businesses are being shuttered by this. They're going to start becoming much more conservative. I think people are going to see the damage, and you're going to have a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden, who stutters and stammers and doesn't know where he is, and Donald Trump, who says, we're going to bring back jobs. We're going to, get your business up and running. And he's got the numbers to prove it. They are going to run ad after ad of Donald Trump saving the economy. And the ads are going to say things like, for 3 years, America enjoyed the most prosperous, nation with lowest unemployment, with rising wages, with a record stock market until a crisis hit. No one saw it coming. Then you'll see Nancy Pelosi, when she was like, come down and celebrate in Chinatown. You're going to see de Blasio saying, we're not going to shut down. And it's not going to be to blame the Democrats. It's going to be to say that no one knew it was coming. And Donald Trump took quick action and the crisis hit. The governors locked down their states. Businesses were destroyed. And now Donald Trump is going to want to bring that back to you. He's got the track record for it, and Joe Biden doesn't. That's why I don't trust these models. But to rag on 538 for the last time, this is the perfect example of what the media has been doing to us in 2014, 2015, 2016. They didn't see the culture war coming. They didn't understand how we all felt. They didn't understand how this would impact the political landscape, and they still don't. They have not learned a thing. May 11th, could these elections hint at a blue wave? May 20th, will we see a blue wave? Look at your own assessments. I'm sorry. They have the memory of goldfish and the critical thinking capacity of goldfish as well. But I could be wrong. Okay, I was absolutely wrong. I thought there was going to be a red wave. I thought the Republicans were looking at even maybe a super majority. But maybe it's because I'm ahead of the market. That's what I was told a long time ago by a journalist professor, that my techniques, my style, I'm often ahead of the market. And maybe that's fair. I often, I'm reading the news, I'm making predictions, and maybe I'm looking too far ahead. So I'll wrap it up with this. The reason I was wrong in 2018 was because I thought Trump's base would come out. I thought cultural sentiments would play a role in the 2018 election, and I was wrong. The Trump voters didn't care for Republicans. And now we're seeing this reflected in segments by Tucker Carlson and other conservatives where they go after some of these Republicans like Trey Gowdy and Lindsey Graham for doing nothing during the Russiagate scandal. And maybe then you understand why they lost in 2018, because it was about Trump. But these Republicans, these Trump supporters learned their lesson. By the Democrats claiming these are, around 40 seats, it impeached Donald Trump. And now they know if they sit by and they don't come out, Trump will be removed. The Democrats will not stop. I think 2020 is going to be the economic models, the polls are going to be obliterated. First, 2016 was wrong. They tried to correct. I don't think they'll be right this time. But maybe I will be wrong. Maybe I will be wrong. And I'm open to it. Look, I'm just one dude who reads things on the internet, talks about how I feel. I think many of you may agree with my assessment. Maybe many of you feel the same way. And I'm sure there are many of you who disagree with my assessment and think I'm completely wrong. And that's it. It's just normal political discourse. I think they're wrong. They think I'm wrong. All that matters is the people who want to vote show up in November. If you hate Trump and you don't show up, you will lose. If you like Trump and you don't show up, you will lose. But more importantly, if you think you're guaranteed to win, either that, Biden will win or Trump will win and you sit on your hands, it's over. I didn't think I'd be 6-7 years ago, I never thought I'd be saying this. I think we may see record voter turnout, like a record breaking voter turnout. The Trump army showing up in droves to stamp that paper, to pull that lever, to smack that button, and the anti-Trump resistance doing the same thing. But we'll see. There's a lot of reasons to suggest, in my opinion, what I see when I read the news, that Trump should win in a landslide, no matter what. I think the economy doesn't even matter at this point. We'll see. I got more segments coming up for you at 6 p.m. YouTube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.